Ay, okay.
Okay, so good morning. So once again, it's our science time. So our lesson for today is about the particle nature of matter. Particle nature of matter. So this can be found on your SAS, quarter 3, milk 1, week 1, pages 1 to 5. So today's objective is to describe the common properties of matter. So before we proceed to our lesson, let's play a picture game. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so our instruction is thumbs up for matter, and you just say thumbs down for non-matter. So I think this will be easier. Ready? So the first picture is a sugar. Miss Sophia Andres, yes? Matter. Matter. Very good. So next picture is water. Miss Ann Curtis.
Matter.
Matter. Okay.
Yes, a ship.
How about the stone? Mr. Gino Padilla. Okay, very good. And how about air inside the balloon?
Pass na.
Pass. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, thumbs up for matter. Air inside the balloon is matter. Next picture is leaves. Miss I, is this matter or not matter? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Okay, that's correct. Next is how about the smoke? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Miss I, thumbs up. Okay, so a smoke is matter. Next, how about the fire or the so-called fire? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
How about Miss Sophia?
Down.
Thumbs down. Okay, let's see. So the
Wow.
fire is thumbs down. So we'll just find out later on. How about the lights? Is it thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down? Okay, that's it. So a light is a non-matter. So let's discuss what we have shown in the picture. So before that, I will give you the idea about the so-called matter. Can you read the statement about matter? Miss Shelley.
Matter is anything that takes up space in a mass. Matter is made of tiny particles called atoms.
Okay, so take note that matter here is anything. The keyword is space and it has a mass. And also is made up of tiny particles called atom. Okay, so these are the three states of matter. Our previous lesson, we have the solid, liquid, and gas. So these are the arrangement of the atom molecules of the matter. So based on the picture gate a while ago that we have here from sugar granules, water, stone, as a smoke. Okay, so we used to say it's matter when it comes up. Okay, so our basis is because of the so-called mass and it occupies space. So sugar, you can get the so-called weight of the sugar, water, stone, and the heat and light. What do you think are the reasons why the so-called heat and light is not matter? Can you still remember? Any idea? Heat and light is not matter, but it is a form of energy. Okay? So heat is and light is not considered as matter because it is a form of energy. Heat, we didn't even get the mass of heat, right? As well as the light. We didn't even touch it or place it inside the container. So it does not occupy space. So-called heat, okay, it is being transferred by radiation, convection, or the so-called conduction. And the light is through refraction and reflection. So let's have our activity proper. The title of our activity for today is What is Matter Made of? Okay? So our materials are, so I have here the materials, the so-called sugar, clean water, graduated cylinder or beaker, and also a transparent glass. However, if you're full, if it's not available, you can find some cups like this. So you use this. Or if you don't have something na may some measurement, you can use tablespoon. 1 tablespoon is equivalent to 50 ml of water. So that would be good if you don't have anything at home, these materials. Okay, so these are our procedure for our experiment. So using a beaker, I'm going to pour 20 ml. Ma'am Sophia, can you please demonstrate?
20 ml.
Yes. So you're going to place the cup of sugar. So we had already measured the water, 20 ml of water in a beaker. And we have 20 ml of sugar. So you're going to place it inside the beaker. Okay, then, Miss Sophia, can you please stir it? Okay, show it to your classmates. Yes, until it will dissolve, totally dissolve. Okay, so mix thoroughly until all the sugar dissolves. Until the sugar dissolves. Okay, so let's wait until all the mixtures dissolve. So, Miss Sophia had able to pour 20 ml of sugar, 50 ml of water in the mixture. So, 20 plus 50 is equals to 70. So, let's find out what will be the resulting mixture. Okay. Okay. So let's have our discussion for our experiment for today. So the first question is, what is the taste of the resulting mixture, Miss Sophia, according to you?
Of course, it tastes sweet.
Very good. It tastes sweet. Number 2, okay, what is the volume of the sugar and the water mixture? Okay, so let's read the so-called volume.
75.
60 plus number.
Less than 70? Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think is the answer? So according to the result of Miss Sophia, it's 60 plus, but not 70. So the resulting mixture is equal, more than, or less than. So your answer is less than. So in mathematics, 20 plus 50 will always be 70, right? But after the mix mixing of sugar and water, we had able to come up with a less than mixture. So it's 60 plus or 65, let's say 65 in the mixture. So what do you think is the reason behind it? Why do you think that our mixture is no longer 70? Why do you think that it becomes lower? Yes, Miss Sophia.
It contradicts with the so-called conservation of mass.
Okay.
Law of conservation of mass.
Conservation of mass. What else?
Evaporation of water.
Evaporation of water. Okay, so let's discuss it. Okay, so this is the explanation. So it said, can you read Miss Anne?
Water is made up of tiny particles called atoms. It has spaces between them.
Okay, so one reason is that water is made up of tiny particles, meaning it has also space in it. So if there are spaces, like our pockets, we have some spaces, we can put something, right? So the same thing with the so-called sugar. So the water has spaces, the sugar can fit in the spaces of our water molecules. It says there that the sugar particles are able to fit into the spaces because the sugar particles that dissolve in water are very small. So that is why we have come up with less than the amount of the mixture. So it goes into the spaces. So we may wonder that it's no longer 70, but it's already 65. Okay, now let's have the two properties of matter. We have the physical and the chemical properties. So, physical properties, this includes the size, the shape, the color, and the texture. So we can observe this. And these are the example of physical properties. So for example, a sheet of paper, when you tear it, when you cut it, it's still the same paper, right? Okay, so there's no changes, although the size changed, but the paper is still the same. How about the so-called melting of ice, water? This is an example of physical properties. Okay, although it melts, although the size changed, but still, if the so-called ice would melt, it's still water. Okay? So another example of physical changes, we have the melting of ice cream, slicing of bread, baking of rolls. So there's no changes of the so-called properties. Let's go to the second one. Can you please read Miss Shelley?
Chemical properties, characteristics that have to do with the chemical makeup of a substance or how it reacts with other substances.
Okay, so this is something to do with the chemical properties or chemical reactions. So in such substance, there would be changes. So I'll give you the picture or the sample. So for example, we are going to combine these elements. We have water, vinegar, and baking soda. If we're going to combine it together, we notice that water is no longer the same. Vinegar and baking soda. So because of the chemical reaction, we can form another substance. So as you notice, there are some bubbles, right? So the bubbles there is the so-called carbon dioxide molecules. Okay? And how about this one? The so-called knitting of match, phosphoro. So this is also an example of chemical properties. As we notice, because of these chemicals or products that have been combined together, the match is composed of oxidizing substance such as phosphate, what else? Potassium, sulfur, and glass powder. So if we are going to combine it together, it becomes a different substance. So if you're going to knit it together with the oxygen, then it becomes a or you can create a fire. So it's not the same anymore. Alright? Okay, so let's sum it up. So what is matter? So let's sum it up. Yes, Sophia?
Matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass.
Bravo. Next. What are the two properties of matter, Mr. Gino Padilla?
The two properties of matter are chemical property and physical property.
Very good. I love it. And next, can you describe the properties of matter? Miss Shelley?
Physical, example, size and shape, ma'am.
Yes, that's correct.
Chemical, change the chemical substances or the chemical properties.
Yes, that's good. Okay, so to sum it all, here are the properties of matter as we describe it. So the first one is composed of tiny molecules called atom, and the second one, Miss Anne Curtis,
It occupies space
and then
and can be measured by its mass and volume. It has two properties, the physical and the chemical.
okay, so these are all the properties of matter or basic properties of matter. So we will have our reflection for today. So in our class, okay, so can you describe the picture?
A
The
family.
family. Now, the question is, how would you relate the particles of matter in your relationship with your family? Would you prefer it to be that of solid, a liquid, or a gas? Okay. So what do you think? Would you prefer a solid? So we all know that solid, okay, close, liquid, apart, a little apart, and gas. Really? So, Miss Anne,
Means I will relate my family as solid because
Wow.
we are close to each other.
close to each other. That's so
And
fun.
sometimes for liquid, for the flaws,
Uh-huh.
we can associate the three V's with in terms of happiness. We can also express that we are happy, so we need to spread happiness.
You have a lot of insights. I think I'm able to relate. Although sometimes it's gas. Jelly, Miss Jelly, sometimes it's gas because our loved ones are. But of course, we are always going to prefer it as really solid relationship. Okay. And of course, for our pandemic time, so I'm always reminding all of you as a student that just like last time, we always have to stay home. This could be a big help for our family. So staying home and of course building a harmony and also doing your tests as a student. So we're going to continue to be a productive individual as a student. Of course, you're going to do your tasks. So next, let's have our quiz. Are you ready?
Yes.
Ready. So in 3 sentences, describe the common properties of matter. Okay, so i-rank mo pa lang siguro. And for your assignment, here is your instruction. You're going to continue reading or read your last on page 54. We still have activity part 2. So you have to answer those remaining pages of your science activity sheet. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, good morning. Congratulations, Ma'am.
Thank you.
The next